I'm Leah Busch. I'm the engagement officer here at CDP at the City, States and Regions team, and I've got a particular focus on Europe, Middle East and Africa. And I'm joined today by my colleague Tanyeli Sabuncu from WWF, who's the Senior Climate and Energy Officer, as well as Ayşen Erdinçler, who is the Head of Environmental Protection and Control Department at Istanbul Municipality, as well as Mrs. Şükran Nurlu, who is the Head of Climate Change and Environmental Protection Control Department at İzmir Municipality. So we will have several parts in this training session. First, I will give an introduction to CDP and the CDP-ICLEI Unified Reporting System and the questionnaire. And then I will give you some data insight from Turkish cities from 2020. And afterwards, I will talk you through the benefits of reporting your data through CDP. Then my colleague Tanyeli will speak about WWF's One Planet City Challenge. It's a great friendly challenge that cities can still participate if they respond to the CDP-ICLEI questionnaire. And finally, we will hear from some practical insights from our guest speakers at Istanbul and İzmir Metropolitan Municipality, which will tell you about their experience of disclosing their data through our system and will also showcase some of their climate action. So for those of you who don't know CDP yet, we're a global environmental nonprofit organization that hosts a reporting platform. And we invite companies, investors, cities, states, and regions to report their environmental data to us each year. So what this means in reality is that every year, in collaboration with ICLEI, we send cities around the world a questionnaire where we ask them for data on their climate and environmental risks and impacts. And this year, for the first time, we had over 1,000 cities reporting to us, which we were, of course, very happy about. And we believe that by systematically collecting and reporting their data annually, cities can really start to understand their climate-related risks and impacts and start to address them. So in this first section, I'm going to speak more about what we do. So I will give you a broad introduction to the CDP-ICLEI Unified Reporting Platform and the questionnaire that we send around to cities globally. So the CDP-ICLEI questionnaire covers a range of topics, including governance and data management. So this is basically questions about how big is your city, what is the population size, where is it geographically located in the sea, by the mountains, and etc. And then we have a look at climate risks and vulnerability your city faces and how to adapt to them. We also track your greenhouse gas emissions and how you aim to reduce them, and development and economic opportunities that arise as a result of addressing climate change. And finally, we also ask for information on energy, water security, transport, food and waste, as those are sort of the main pillars that emit CO2 emissions. And this helps to build a holistic picture of how your city is doing on climate and environmental action. So if you enter the questionnaire, this is sort of the content overview that you will see. And as you can see, the core part really focuses on the two blocks, adaptation and mitigation. So this would be until section 6. And for adaptation, cities are asked to upload a climate hazards and vulnerability assessments and the adaptation plan to address the identified hazards and risks. And then for mitigation, cities are asked to disclose their citywide emissions, present an emission reduction goal, as well as concrete measures of how they actually aim to reach that goal. The CDP-ICLEI platform is relatively easy to use, and it's completely free and voluntary, and there's no minimum requirement or prescribed methodology. So you can report whatever data you currently have available, and that's really important to us because we want to meet each city at exactly the stage that they're currently at, because obviously around the world, cities have different resources when trying to tackle climate change. So we include the flexibility because we want to make the process for reporting as easy as possible for you. And we want to make sure also that our approach is the best way to reflect regional context in our system. Cities can disclose publicly or privately, and some of the cities prefer to report privately in the first year because they first want to hear our feedback and feel maybe not so confident yet of reporting publicly, but they will do it in the next year, but this is their choice. and they will always receive comprehensive guidance against each question in the questionnaire, and of course can get individual support from our team. It's easy to use because it's multiple choice. You can come back later to every question at each point. If you want to report again in the next year, there's a copy forward function, so you can just update questions instead of having to type everything in again. And if you don't have an answer, that's also completely okay. After you have submitted your questionnaire, CDP will then score and provide feedback on your city response and help you improve your data quality and accelerate your action. So our scoring methodology provides a robust review of your response, identifying your progress on the journey to become a climate leader. And the score provides you with an assessment of how thorough and complete your response is on a scale from disclosure, which you can see all the way on the left, all the way up to leadership on the right. And we also provide separate mitigation and adaptation scores that reflect that maybe your city has a different priority at the moment. And after the submission, you will also receive a snapshot report, which contains information on how your city compares in a regional average, so in comparison to other cities in your region, and also feedback on how to improve your response and data, including next steps and areas of opportunity. And finally, as part of this feedback package that we do, you can also receive a one-on-one score feedback call where you can talk directly to a member of staff and discuss any issues with regards to the questionnaire. As said, the score can be private, but we will celebrate those cities that received an A, so the best grade, in our public press campaign, which is always a great, publicity for the city. I will now give you some concrete data insight from 2020 regarding our participating cities in the EMEA region. And so in 2020, we had 169 cities across Europe that reported through our platform, and they represented 28 countries and 109 million people. And as you can see from the map, these cities are spread across the region and represent a range of sizes and local government types, such as large cities like Berlin, or even small villages like the village of Kadiowacik. And here we have a closer look at the Turkish participating cities, and we're really happy by the high numbers of Turkish cities that report through our system. So in 2020, we had already 11 cities reporting, and if you place Turkey in the Middle Eastern region, that would be the highest number of participating cities per country. And in 2021, we had even already 16 Turkish cities that reported, and we hope, of course, that these numbers increase in the following years. In the next section, I will look more closely at the concrete risks and adaptation actions in Turkey and the wider region. So as you can see here on the left, the identified risks in Turkey and the wider region include sea level rise, which was pointed out by 5 cities, extreme and hot temperature, which was mentioned by 7 cities, extreme precipitation, which 11 cities addressed, and water scarcity and drought, which 5 cities said that they were struggling with. And these identified risks also include, of course, a social dimension. So in particular, vulnerable, low income and elderly parts of the population will particularly be affected by these risks. And if these risks materialize, there will, of course, also be an increased demand for public services, including health services. According to the reporting Turkish cities, the sectors that will be the most impacted by climate hazards are food and agriculture, water supply and sanitation, as well as biodiversity and forestry. And then CDP in the next step also helps cities to adapt to the risks that they identified in the first step. So in Turkey in particular, the 11 reporting cities in 2020 mentioned the following adaptation actions. 3 cities said that they developed 4 projects and policies targeted at the vulnerable population. 3 cities did adaptation actions in the area of maintenance and reparation of leaking infrastructure. 3 cities took action in the area of flood mapping. 2 cities developed actions in the area of crisis management. And another 2 cities reported they have developed actions in heat mapping. And for the whole of Europe, about 900 adaptation actions have been registered in our system in 2020. And this is, of course, a great basis for cities to start to share their knowledge and exchange and support each other. Because, of course, in these 900 actions, there's probably going to be a measure that's also interesting for your city. And just to give you an idea of sort of the concrete measures that we collect, I will bring an example of the city of Denizli with regards to adapting agriculture to climate change. And in particular, Denizli took action to prevent soil erosion by changing the plowing techniques, terracing and increasing afforestation. And they also increased support mechanisms for sustainable land management and sustainable agriculture. They increased incentives to improve irrigation and supported the shift to efficient irrigation systems. And finally, they trained farmers on suitable crop varieties and sustainable agriculture. And of course, these measures are even in much more detail in our reporting system and mostly publicly available. In the next section, I would like to talk about the second pillar when trying to address climate change, namely mitigation actions and the benefits that they can bring for our city. So first of all, 75% of all European cities that responded to the questionnaire reported a total of 917 mitigation actions, which is again a great basis to start to share knowledge. And in Europe and the Middle East, the top 5 mitigation actions included retrofitting buildings, increasing low and zero carbon energy generation, decarbonizing motorized vehicles, upgrading to more efficient street lighting, and on-site renewable energy generation, such as solar panels, for example. And these actions are great because they help to reduce CO2 emissions, but they also include significant additional co-benefits for cities. What is the co-benefit? So climate co-benefits are beneficial outcomes from an action that are not directly related to climate change mitigation. I will only address a couple of those listed on the left, but for example, identified co-benefits in the EMEA regions include that there's cleaner air because there's less pollution from transport, there are public health benefits because of active travel by citizens, such as bike rides, biodiversity improvements through the expansion of green space, resource conservation, for example, soil or water, which just get less polluted. And you can see that the most frequent co-benefits of a mitigation action that cities have identified is that through the measures taken, citizens also shift to more sustainable behavior. So they may think about retrofitting rather than buy something new, use public transport or cycle if there's a cycle path. And cities also thought that 23% of the mitigation actions taken have led to an improved resource efficiency, which is a great benefit because less water or energy is consumed through improved processes, and there's, of course, less waste production. What I would like to point out is that co-benefits are important because they can be a great motivator for climate action. Because although mitigation measures have significant potential to reduce emissions, cities face barriers when trying to implement them. And one of those barriers can be to convince key decision makers and other city stakeholders, such as local companies, to really implement climate action. And this is because cities have multiple competing priorities, and climate action has often been perceived to come at the cost of other goals, such as economic growth or inequality reduction. Planning climate action that also delivers co-benefits can therefore enable cities to receive support from key stakeholders and mobilize scarce resources across city departments and maximize opportunities to address multiple social, environmental, and economic challenges. Now that we have had a look at the concrete data, in the next section, I will talk you through the city benefits when they decide to report to our system. And there are a range of benefits which are summarized on the slides. And they include that, first of all, you can join several city networks, which can offer you additional support, including the Global Covenant of Mayors and WWF, which we're going to talk about later. And you can also get access to best practices of other cities, as I mentioned, and exchange knowledge with cities that face similar challenges to your cities. And we also regularly report comparative reports, publish comparative reports. And receiving feedback on your climate plans through the SCORE feedback call is another advantage of reporting your data to us. You can also foster a sense of transparency with your local community. And you're also able to track your progress towards the goals in one single platform. And of course, we can also offer guidance in other areas, such as collaborating with companies in the private sector. And as I mentioned before, as we are a non-profit organization, our service is completely free of charge. I just quickly wanted to touch on how reporting through the CDP-ICLEI Unified Reporting System fits in with national and international level requirements to report, as well as international standards. So reporting through our questionnaire does not conflict with national government requirements to report your data, and we do not want to create any additional burdens on your municipality. So therefore, as I mentioned, we have our design questionnaire. We have designed it to be as flexible as possible, and a lot of the data that you report to your national government, you can also report through our system, and we can even help you to increase the quality of that data. And also, our questionnaire is fully aligned with international standards, such as the GCOM's Common Reporting Framework and the ISO 37123, which is an international standard that is broader in terms of environmental indicators. And we currently also work on including science-based targets into our questionnaire. So through reporting and responding to our questionnaire, you can keep up to date with relevant international standards and better compare your data to other cities from other regions globally. By reporting through our platform, you can join a number of CDP and ICLEI initiatives, such as the CDP Matchmaker program, for example. And this is a portal that aims to bring cities that are looking for funding together with green investors that are looking for green investment opportunities. And you can also join our other partner organizations and initiatives. So our platform is one of the official reporting platforms for the mentioned Global Covenant of Mayors, so GCOM. And we share the data with this global network, which means that you only have to report once through our questionnaire, and you get the GCOM and the CDP benefits. And if you're not already a GCOM member, you can initiate the process by joining the questionnaire and through our platform. Finally, cities reporting through our system can also join the Cities Race to Zero and Race to Resilience campaigns. And these campaigns were launched by the UN High-Level Climate Action Champions to build a momentum. The UN High-Level Climate Action Champions to build a momentum around the shift to decarbonized and resilient economy ahead of the COP26. And these are global campaigns to rally leadership and support from businesses, cities, regions, and investors for a healthy, resilient, zero-carbon recovery, and to show as well national governments that they are not alone in their commitment to net zero and resilience. And as you can imagine, Race to Zero focuses on emission reduction, whereas Race to Resilience focuses more on the adaptation to climate change. And for Race to Zero, there have already been more than 700 cities that have signed up. And another campaign is the OPCC, One Planet City Challenge, and Tanyeli will talk about this in more depth now. So I'm going to stop sharing my presentation.
This is Tanyeli Sabuncu. WWF Türkiye İklim ve Enerji Programı sorumlusuyum.
I'm from WWF. Now I would like to talk to you about our actions in WWF. Now let me tell you a little bit about WWF. WWF is active in more than 100 countries for more than 60 years. It's a nature company, and we have more than 5 million supporters with a lot of projects going on. These projects are about wildlife, oceans, forests, and other aquaculture, as well as climate. So in the scope of these projects, we have been doing projects on a global scale about the mitigation of the climate change hazards. and mitigating by 40% in terms of renewable energy and other mitigation projects. And in Turkey, we have been conducting companies in terms of the membership of Turkey to the Paris Act, that the Paris climate action is on the agenda of our Grand Assembly. And in scope of our objectives, we want to create the awareness of the climate action in some cities. And we have a new contest called One City Planet Challenge within scope of WWF, and which is a friendly contest organized in more than 50 countries. And in this contest, we want our contestants to create new action plans and objectives in terms of the climate action. And in the scope of this, we guide the cities to report on the survey reporting system. As Leah talked about earlier, when the cities report to the CDP, they don't have to do multiple reporting. For example, if you do on one single platform, you don't have to do the same in the other ones. No additional reporting is required. So doing a report on CDP, you can select the other platforms and you don't have to do additional platforms. So cities should just conduct reporting just for once. So the fact that the cities want to go up and stand up in the first ranks, it depends on their performance. So the evaluation is done by an international jury. And we try to bring the cities up who report on a strong climate action. But apart from these contests, we aim to support the cities, and which will hopefully be a long-term project. So apart from reporting and evaluation, at the same time, we try to make a cooperation which can increase the capacity, and we conduct some workshops depending on the necessities of the cities, and create an incentive for them to create new objectives. We supply some capacity increasing materials for them to create some solutions, the nature-dependent solutions and the renewable energy. After the report, after done with the reporting and after the evaluation of the reporting by the jury members, we give them a report, and in scope of that feedback and reporting, we understand to what extent the reporting performance is corresponds to the results, and to see what else they can do. In this term and in the terms before, OPCC is organized into organized twice in 2019 and 2020 as well. And in Turkey, Denizli, İzmir, Bursa, Gaziantep, and Kocaeli are the cities who participated. And we achieved an emission for more than 1,000 meter cube. And Denizli has become the Turkish champion in the contest. And we had more participants, and from now on 265 cities participated. Additional cities are from Turkey as well, to other cities. Well, if we want to talk about the benefits, we can talk about that the recognition is also important by CDP-ICLEI. And we'll let the independent specialists evaluate the action plans in scope of the strategic feedback report. And we tried to support them to create an objectives which is compatible with the 1.5 Celsius. And in the years ahead, we will try to continue to do so. And the finalists will be able to join the company We Love Cities, organized by WWF. And in scope of the We Love Cities campaign, cities can let other residents in the cities to evaluate their actions. And whoever gets the more support will be the winner of the campaign. And in the past, Denizli was was one of the two cities that stood out among the other cities. And apart from that, we invite our cities and inform them and guide them in terms of making sure that the public opinion is participated, and in terms of creating an action plan. And we aim to guide them accordingly. In addition, they will be able to cooperate with the other cities in the platforms of ICLEI and C40 and CDP, or Global Covenant of Mayors. They will be able to see the what actions that the other cities have done. This is the calendar of 2021 and 2022 of OPCC. We already sent the invitations in April, and in August the cities have conducted their reporting session. The reporting session has expired since the last days of August, and within the month of November they will modify and adjust their reporting. And in February 2022 they will get their feedback. So on the 6th of November we'll send the reportings and want them to just modify it. And by the way, other cities can also participate to the OPCC until December. So although they won't be able to get the feedback session because they're a little bit late, but they can contact with us, or they can continue their reporting on the CPD platform and continue the reporting and get in touch with us. After they are done with their adjustments on the reporting, and we'll also complete our reportings and I'll send the results to the cities. And on April and May 2022, the winners will be announced and we will have another campaign. We love cities. Thank you very much for your attention. Now I'm giving the floor to Leah. Back to you, Leah.
It's a great challenge, and if you decide to participate at CDP and report through our platform, why not take the additional benefit and also sign up for this campaign since you already put in the work? So I can only encourage you all to sign up for the OPCC as well. I will share my screen again with the second part of my presentation, which is a technical walkthrough the questionnaire so that you can see how it would actually work. Can you see this all right? Yeah, great, thank you. So yes, exactly. So we'll have a little walkthrough, and so just before I get started, I want to highlight that multiple people in your city can contribute to filling in the questionnaire, and there are different user roles in the system. So you may want to think about who in your team would be the most relevant for which user role. There's, of course, the main user. This can only be one person, and it's the person that can opt into the initiatives, such as GCOM or the OPCC. And it's the person that can also submit the questionnaire. Then there can also be contributors. Those can be several people, and they can edit and fill in the questionnaire, but they cannot submit it. And then you can also just make some people, give them allowance to view the questionnaire. To start the reporting journey, you will first need your very own activation link. Some of you might maybe already have received this link through our emails this year. And you can then click on that link and you will be directed to our webpage. And if you have not received such an activation link, you can either contact cities at cdp.net or me personally, because I'm the person responsible for Turkish cities. And if you have used our platform before, what you will see after clicking the activation link would be the image that you can now see as picture A. And you will need to use your existing email and password to sign in. Another option, if your city has not disclosed to us before, is that you can also visit the city's page on the website and click on the Register Now button. And this will take you straight to the registration form where you can register an account, as you can see in picture B. And yeah, once you're registered, you will be able to sign into the platform through our website, which is www.cdp.net. After signing in, you will be able to access our dashboard, which acts like the homepage for our platform. And in the dashboard, you will be able to access the questionnaire. Once you are in the dashboard, you will need to find the section that is called Cities 2021, as shown by the image in the slide, and then click Get Started, as you can see in purple. After clicking Get Started, a separate pop-up window will then appear, as shown in the left side image. And the pop-up window will ask you whether you will be the main user or specify whether another contact will be the main user. And then you can click on Next, where you will be directed to a web page showing the different projects and initiatives you can participate in, as shown in the image on the right. Here again, this is where you would opt into the OPCC or DCOM, or the Race to Zero and Race to Resilience campaigns. And once you're done with selecting the projects, you can click Enter Questionnaire to begin reporting. Then you will be presented with our online questionnaire, which is shown on the slide. And we have also, of course, separate guidance documents for each question, which can help you navigate through the platform and the questionnaire. And in the questionnaire, you will see some buttons along the top, which you can now here see in the yellow box. And here is where you can save your questionnaire, share it, and submit it. And there are some other buttons here that I will go into detail a little bit later. You don't have to fill in the questionnaire and submit it all in one go. You can always come back at a later stage and as many times as you like before you submit it. Just make sure that you save the questionnaire before you exit the platform, because otherwise changes might be lost. Another useful feature is the blue progress bar, which highlights how complete your response is at the moment, and it allows you to monitor your progress before the submission. The navigation button on the left allows you to access different sections of the questionnaire, and the previous next buttons on the right allow you to skip through to the next question. Here I will quickly show you an example question from the climate hazards and vulnerability section of the questionnaire so that you can see what sort of data it is that we actually collect. Many of the questions require you to select from a choice of answers from a drop-down menu. So you can see for question 0.2 at the top, which asks, has a climate change risk and vulnerability assessment been undertaken for your city? And there you can choose from 5 answers, which are in the yellow box. And these are yes, it is in progress, intending to undertake in the next 2 years, not intending to undertake, and do not know. And for some of the questions in the questionnaire, we ask you to provide a text response. For example, in the question below, the city is asked to provide their risk assessment methodology. And this is again a drop-down. And then on the right, also highlighted in yellow, there's a description box. And there the city is then asked to provide a text description of the methodology. And for some questions, we may also ask you to provide an answer in numbers. For example, in one question in the questionnaire, we ask about the population amount of your city. And as said, for each question, there's a link to further guidance, which you can see in the red box. And this will give you then more information on how to answer it and also provide you with tools in case you haven't done such an adaptation plan yet. There are tools that can help you to create and draft such a plan. And as I mentioned previously, the platform provides a tool to export the questionnaire as an Excel file. And this is a really useful tool because it allows you to export the questionnaire, fill it in offline, and then re-import it into the online platform. And it will then automatically populate your answers into the online response. And this is particularly useful if maybe there might be some internet issues at your workplace. And the buttons to export the Excel can be found at the top of the questionnaire, again as highlighted in yellow. And then you can select whether you want to export the full questionnaire or maybe just individual sections that you want to send to a specific colleague. When you have finished filing in the Excel file, you can re-import it back into the questionnaire and re-import the Excel file into the response. Just select the import button, again here highlighted in yellow, and upload the file you have been working on offline. This will then automatically populate the questions into the online questionnaire, and then you can simply submit. Lastly, I would like to say that although we of course try to make the website as user-friendly as possible, we are aware that cities may have difficulties navigating through it, especially if they have to do it in a language that is not their native language. So if you have any sort of problems or would like to get individual help, you can directly get in touch with me. On the questionnaire, there's also a Need Help button, which will then direct you to the city's EMEA email address or also to our contact persons at ICLEI. And then we can provide you with detailed support. Finally, I would like to talk you through the timeline that we have for this year, if you're interested in participating. So this is, first of all, the CDP disclosure cycle. And as you can see, it normally starts in April, which is when the platform opens and the questionnaires for the first time available each year. And then from a CDP point of view, cities have 3 months to fill it in until the end of July. And during this time, CDP provides a lot of trainings and webinars to help you fill in the questionnaire. And then in October and November, cities will receive the CDP score and feedback report. And this means, of course, that this year cities can no longer receive the CDP score and feedback because the deadline was end of July. But the platform and the questionnaire are still available until the end of the year, and some campaigns are still ongoing. So you can still sign up for Race to Zero and Race to Resilience within the next 2 weeks until the 15th of October. GCOM, if you want to participate there, you can submit the questionnaire until the 31st of October. And for the One Planet City Challenge, I think the deadline is the end of the year. Tanyeli, correct me if I'm wrong, but until then, if you submit the questionnaire, you will still be eligible for winning and for the feedback. This would be my part of the presentation. Any questions you have, please put them in the chat box because we're going to have a Q&A session in the end. But now we're going to hear from Ayşen from Istanbul Municipality. Thank you very much.
Okay, then hello everyone. I think this is a really beneficial session and I'm glad to be a speaker in this session, so thank you. Today I'm going to talk to you about Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality as a member of CDP Cities Network. So, Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality is member to different associations, different climate networks. First of them is GCOM, as you know, CDP, C4O, EIT, Marmara Municipalities Association, and other associations. We are member to many different networks. So among these networks, we do the management in our department, in Environmental Protection and Control Department, and I'm the head of this department. Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality became a member of Compact of Mayors in 2015. In a voluntary manner, our municipality committed to reduction of greenhouse gases and to create resilient cities against the climate changes. This is like a milestone for us. After that, we can look at the commitments here. Creating an inventory, a greenhouse gases inventory, inconvenience to GPC. Also, creating objectives, identifying the objectives to reduce greenhouse gases and preparing climate change action plans. When we look at IMM Istanbul, we can think about our performance, and let's see our performance. We create this inventory, greenhouse gases inventory, every year, and we present them. And of course, they are convenient to GPC. We created our first action plan in 2018, and in the scope of this plan, we identified the targets for 2030 and 2050. For 2030, it is 33%, and for 2050, it is 35%. So it is 35% of the. Also, we identified 10 vulnerable sectors, and we made the analysis of risk, opportunity, and vulnerability. So this was an analysis report, and you can access all these reports from the website that you can see on the screen, iklim.istanbul. Now let's talk about Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality's membership to Global Covenant of Mayors. We became a member in 2016, and as you know, Covenant of Mayors and Compact of Mayors, they unified, and they are now called GCOM, and since then we are an official member. From Turkey, we are 27 Turkish municipalities, and Istanbul is of course one of them. As members, we conduct our activity through our department, and we also use CDP Cities Network, and we GHG inventory reports on a regular basis. The last 2 years of the reports were given awards by GCOM, and it was really motivating for us. Excuse me, I will go back. what kind of benefits do we have as we are members of CDP? So we can track our current status and progress by reporting every year systematically. Also, we increase the data collection capacity and intersections collaboration capacity. Also, the feedback report helps us to identify the points that we have to work on for the city. That's what CDP crew does. And we believe this is really valuable. Also, we see the we see that good practices are reported. Both CDP crew and other cities are important for us. We can come up with areas for opportunities and sharing of insights. 2019 GHD inventory attribute allocation is shown on the screen. The sector with the biggest share is fixed energy with 63%, and 28% goes to transportation, 9% goes to waste sectors. The general emission is 3.3 TCO2, as you can see on the screen, 50 TCO2e, as you can see, and you can see the emission per capita for 2019. Also, C40 crew approved this to GPC basic standards. When we look at 2020, we can see that 47 tons of carbon dioxide is the total emission for 2020, and emission per capita is 3.1 tons of carbon dioxide. When we look at GHG allocation, we see that 64 has a point of decrease, and 1 point of increase is shown is visible for waste. And there is a 1 point of decrease for transportation, which equals to 26%. We see that during the pandemic, the individual transportation increases, but also staying at home only leads to a 2 point of decrease in transportation, but they go to fixed waste. So C40 crew approved our inventory in accordance to GPC basic standards. So Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality is the only member, Turkish member, to C40, and we have Mr. Ekrem İmamoğlu signed the deadline 2020, and he committed to make Istanbul one of the resilient cities for 2020. So in accordance to this commitment, we will be revising the after this revision efforts, within the program of technical support, we created a
iklim eylem planı, yani 2018'de yapılmış olan iklim eylem planı, deadline 2020 taahhütleri ve Paris hedefleriyle uyum.
So we try to make this convenient to Paris objectives, and we are working on these efforts today. You can see the roadmap of revision efforts. The first step is data collection. We try to collect the data transparently and correctly, of course, and also we have the modeling of the future scenarios and the current status. We identified reduction and adaptation action. And also we will be publishing the 2050 neutral carbon target adaptation action plan. And we said we are modeling these scenarios, and we have 4 different scenarios here. Business as usual is the scenario if we don't do anything after the current status, and this is the top line. If you continue without doing anything, the GHG emissions will continue to rise, of course. And the second one is the one that we came up with in 2018. This was the climate action plan, and these are the actions potential result that you can see in brown, and this is the second line. When we look at that, it shows that there will be a decrease till 2030, but after 2030 there will be an increase greenhouse gases. So, and you can see the third one in yellow. These are called promising scenarios, or let's say brave scenarios, and these are targeting the objectives for 2050. If we implement this scenario, we see that the GHG emissions will continuously decrease, but here you see the line in red, and this is deadline 2020 emission objectives, and we cannot meet them. So we have expanded brave scenario, or expanded promising scenario, let's say in English, and you can see the line in red meets the line of deadline 2020. So we are meeting the deadline 2020 objectives within this scenario. However, you can say that it is a really difficult, challenging scenario. So for identifying the brave action and strategies, we came up with a workshop of inner stakeholders for 4 industries. These are building, energy, waste, transportation, water, and wastewater. So we had this workshop, and this is one of our revision efforts. So we came up with the emission sources for 4 industries, and we identified the increasing trends. Also, we looked at how the current planning and policies will affect the increase till 2050. We shared our opinions, and also we came up with new policies and strategies that could be developed for emission decrease in accordance with the 2050 objectives. Before the workshop, we came up with a really long, detailed action list. And we did that by collecting data from IMM departments, our municipalities departments. Then we filtered them, and we used C40 criteria at this point. We reduced them down till 120. Then we scored the actions. After the workshop, we came to 80 actions, 80 individual actions. Then we voted, and we identified 21 prioritized decrease and adaptation actions. So the roadmap was published, and all relevant other stakeholders are called to detailed workshops, and we will be following this up with annual reporting, and we will come up with steps that could contribute to these efforts. I can give you some good news. IMM was eligible to take part in the project of European Union, that is Energy Transition Covenant of Mayors in the Western Balkans and Turkey. Within this scope, municipalities from 7 countries applied, and from Turkey, Bağcılar Municipality and Istanbul Municipality were selected. The goal here is, of course, to fight against the climate change and making sure the energy transition in Balkans, in Western Balkans and Turkey are done. The European Union will provide technical support. Istanbul will create its resilient energy and action plan, and it will last for 4 years. We had technical support from Jacob, and both in terms of experience and both in terms of having a valuable support, I believe we will be doing great things in the future. So it is really valuable, and it is really pushing us forward. It is like an incentive for us, and thanks for your attention.
It's really interesting. Can I now give the word to our next speaker, Şükran, Nurlu from İzmir Municipality. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your invitation. Hello again. So I am from the Climate Change and Environmental Protection Control Department. I'm the head. I have been working on these issues for a long time in İzmir. Let me first say something about İzmir. İzmir Metropolitan Municipality came up with the with a strategy that is convenient with nature. It is, let's say, eco-friendly, and this strategy talked about what İzmir has to do to reach a lifestyle that is eco-friendly. So we underlined being resilient to natural disasters, raising prosperity, and we try to ensure nature being present in city and ensuring that people can reach nature. Also, we had some work on natural industry in İzmir. Also, raising the cultural connections between the nature and the city in İzmir. Within this scope, there have been 2 documents prepared. The first one is İzmir SECAP. It is İzmir Metropolitan Municipality in 2015 was a member to this covenant of mayors. Also, within the scope, we came up with a commitment of a 20% of greenhouse gases reduction. In 2019, this was revised to 40% till 2030. It was a commitment of 40% of reduction in greenhouse gases emissions till 2030. And for this, we approved the Energy and Climate Action Plan, SECAP. Of course, İzmir is not as big as Istanbul, but it is the 2nd largest city in COM after London. The second important document is the Green City Action Plan. This is supported by EBRD, and it is a part of Green Cities program. And İzmir is the first municipality to join this program from Turkey. Climate change, water, air, and soil topics were identified here, and here is fight against the problems that we see in these topics. They were simultaneously prepared. The most important aspect was participants. We tried to get the stakeholders together, like the municipality departments, public institutions, private sector, along with them NGOs, the unions, the development agency, energy companies, academic circles were all involved in these meetings. and they all contributed to the preparing of these two documents, and their participants was really important for us. We faced some challenges during the planning, the preparation of the documents. First of all, the data that we wanted to collect was not there and in the first place. We were not sure that they were there. We reached some data. We learned that there were, but we had problems accessing it. Also, the indicators were different in national and international documents, data. For instance, some are based on province, some are based on regions, and identifying or processing this data was difficult. Also, the data was recorded, was kept by different institutions, and they did not share the same method. Also, collaboration and cooperation was difficult with institutions with different jurisdiction and responsibilities. Some climate and environment related local governments were not open to collaboration, and that was another challenge. So we identified the carbon footprint of İzmir. For Istanbul, this is 514 tons of carbon dioxide approximately, and this equals to 2.05% of İzmir. The second one shows the total emissions of İzmir, and this is more than 25 million, and this equals to 44.81% of Turkish emission, and and you can see Turkey's share in the world. We worked with the data from 2018. Here you can see the attribution, and 31.4% goes to industrial emissions. The second largest share goes to transportation. The third goes to dwellings, and the last one goes to agricultural sources. So these are the sources of emissions from 2018. So we have this goal of 40% of reduction till 2030. Right now we stand at 3.31. This is from 2018, sorry. So this was 3.31 in 2018, and if we do not act, it will be 3.51 in 2030. So you can see the differences. You can see the total emissions here, and in total emissions, after the precautions we take for transportation and industry, you can see the changes. So we showed the potential change that the measurements can offer. Unfortunately, in İzmir, we are facing climate change effects and extreme weather conditions for 2 years. In August 2019, there was a great fire, and a year ago, we had an earthquake in İzmir. And the interesting part was that in Seferihisar, we lost a life, we had casualties. And we had drought from 2020, and this is from a dam, an important dam for İzmir, and this is from November 2020. We face drought. Also, on February, we had a flood incident, and in the same month, we had a storm in İzmir. So when we look at this picture, İzmir has to immediately act on these measures. also, these documents showed us the impacts of these natural disasters.
So these are the two similar documents, and totally there are 61 and 44 actions are common. And in scope of SECAP, there are 14 individual actions, and they have different methodologies. In scope of this, so of course, we had some projects and programs that we wanted to create and develop in order to materialize our objective. In the scope of the nature-dependent life project, we have a Flamingo Nature Park project. This photo was taken in the Bostanlı coast north of İzmir in the Gediz Delta. And these are this is the region in that area, which is a delta, of course, but in some part of the delta there has been urbanization going on recently. So when the urbanization went up to the north, we had different hazards, and sometimes there are some risks due to the flood here because of the delta. Some precautions have been taken, but we need to underline the importance of integrating the nature to the city, not involving the nature, but try to merge it with the city. So we decided to create and design a park to guide the water, not to create an obstacle to the water. So this is a part in which flamingos are mostly common, which makes the city very beautiful. For example, you have a great time in the balcony of the of our houses. You see some flamingos and pelicans and other birds creating a good view, which creates an importance for the wildlife and the nature. So we try to respect to their habitat and try to merge the city and the nature with our project called Flamingo Nature Park project. Another project is forests, which are strong, resistant to climate and fire. And scope of this project, more fire-resistant plants will be planted, cultivated. And in scope of this project, 35 parks have been designated, and we try to spot some parts to create more ecologic and a region that is suitable for the aviculture. In İzmir, there are more than, not more than, but totally five deltas. After the flood that we experienced, we tried to think about what we can do, and we created a project called Sponge City. So with the specialists and other individuals, we started a project in which we try to create and develop policies which is sensitive to climate. And in this regard, we think of a project in which we can inform other stakeholders about the concordance with the climate action and we created a center about the climate, in which farmers and other stakeholders can come and get trained. Izmir coast is an important region which hosts many ecological species. And the sewage and the rainfall systems are so interconnected, and we conducted as work on that. It's also an ongoing project. And as Izmir as roads, we created a mentality in which we spotted 5 other spots in Izmir to tell people the importance of the regional importance of Izmir. So we tend to support the local producers and the bazaars and the markets to create an incentive for them, and in cooperation we have another project called Izmir Agriculture. The motto is another agriculture is possible. Let me say that there is a çeşme kavunu, it's a melon cultivated in Izmir, and which is a very special one because it does not cultivate so easily. It needs appropriate conditions. So in scope of that, we created some waste electric energy production system. To create the biogas into energy, to turn it into the energy. We have a new project. For the bicycle transportations, we created a serious infrastructure, and in Izmir, we created nice bicycle roads with a transportation mentality, with a lot of stations for the bicycles, and in which the people can rent bicycles. And apart from that, we try to make the railroads more common with electricity. We put a lot of effort to try to get a shift from a tire to the railways. And in terms of the electricity buses, we try to create a solar panel system on the top of the station so that the electricity cars can get their energy from that. So also we made some investments for some public places to create their own energy. So most of the energy is obtained from the sun at the moment. And we try to create a prerequisite for them to get their energy only from renewable energy from the sun. Another project is about the training for our beloved children. Recently, due to COVID, we had a shortage in terms of. Now we continue on our education system face to face, and we try to create some contests on how they should behave in terms of climate. Let me talk about the importance
No. Just the Q&A session is going to start soon. So I just wanted to say, if you could roll up and come to an end, that would be great.
Şöyle tamam pardon. Şöyle.
Okay, we are almost done. Lastly, I would like to say that we have a concordance with the CBD. So in order to see the projects done in other cities is important for the evaluation of our results. So as in other cooperations within CDP, we are really pleased to see results from CDP as well, and thank you very much.
Presentation, and great to hear about all the projects that you have in place, especially the Busch city project sounded really interesting. We'll now have another 10 minutes left for a question and answer session. So I believe that we've got the audience that's on a different platform. So if they would like to ask questions, they can do so now, and we'll probably have a little delay from the streaming from one platform to the other. But if there are questions, please feel free to ask them, write them in the chat box, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Hello, Leah, we have the first question coming through. So I guess it's for you. So is my scoring public if I do not obtain the A score?
Great question. So cities can choose if they want to report publicly or privately. So they can choose this for every year, and they can report public in the scores, in the lower scores. But if they want to achieve an A, we ask them to report their data publicly, because one of the core pillars of CDP is as well fostering transparency. And so only cities can receive an A if they also decide to publicly disclose their data. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. So second question coming through. I guess this is for Erdinçler and Nurlu Hanım. So how did you manage to improve the collaboration with the different partners and organizations to gather all the data? Is it easier to work with them now?
Say that the climate action, in the preparation of the climate action plan, the most common challenge is the data collection, which should be transparent and open to public. So by creating some cooperation, you can go further. But we had some challenges, but the data collection process was really great and beneficial. I have a question here. Maybe I can answer from here. They asked to read the reports on the latest reports on 2021 about Istanbul. Yes, it will be published soon. That can be seen in the iklim.istanbul. Very soon, because we are done with it, and very soon you'll be able to read it.
Are there any other questions at the moment?
Leah, so I guess this one again is for you. So what happens if I do not have all the data?
Nothing to start with. So we just want to meet cities at the exact stage that they're at when trying to report the environmental data and get started. And we know very well that across the world, there are very well-equipped municipalities that have 10 members of staff. And then in other cities that we're working with, it's just the mayor collecting all the data by him or herself. So it really is, we see it as a journey. And we encourage cities to just put in all the data that they have in the first year. And if they feel it's not enough data, they don't feel comfortable with it, they can just report privately, and nobody else will, except for our analysts, will know what the data includes. So we think that, and then with our feedback, hopefully the city will be able to, over the next couple of years, develop the adaptation plan, develop the emissions inventory, and then slowly increase the data that they have. But it's no problem at all. You can come as you are with the exact amount of data that is currently available to your city.
Thank you, Leah. So one more question coming through. So when you're classifying cities according to their climate performance, have you considered the development level of the country?
That's an excellent question. So we are currently in the progress of making the questionnaire more targeted to the different development states of cities. So at the moment, it's the same questionnaire for everybody. So there's no such distinction. We do have a mitigation target score and a adaptation score. So in this area, there's maybe a little bit more variation where you can see what a city is more interested in. But currently, it's the same questionnaire for everybody, but we're trying to improve it for 2022 going forward so that it is more targeted depending on the resources and the development level of a city. Great. I'll give it another couple of seconds to see if another question comes in. And otherwise, I think we can wrap it up. Great, I see those were all the questions. Then let me thank all the participants. It was a great pleasure to have you and to do this training session with me. Thank you so much and have a good day, everybody.